theme and might well contain strong scenes of sex or violence, which could be quite graphic.
What you want to do is, if you haven't seen it yet, is leave it 20 years and then rediscover it. So remember what I'm saying to you 20 years in the future is don't watch it for 20 years, rediscover it, and then be pleasantly surprised. I actually went to the cinema.
What's that?
It's been hot, so what I do when it's a lovely hot day is I go sit in a dark, cold room and watch movies on a big screen. The cinema. And so there's been a lot of hype about A24's new film, Hereditary.
Oh, yeah.
Directed by Ari Aster, his first feature, starring Toni Collette, Gabriel Byrne, Alex Wolff, who was in the Jumanji reboot. He was the nerd kid in that.
Oh, right, of course.
Really good in this. Millie Shapiro, who's the little girl who features heavily in the trailers. So have you seen the trailer for Hereditary?
Yeah. It looks really cool. It looks really cool, and it's been touted as one of the scariest things on the planet.
The scariest film since Exorcist. Fuck no.
You don't get to make that claim.
A24. Okay, this is going to be a review about A24. Okay, A24 are a distributor who've put out some really good indie horror over the past few years, but they hype up their shit far too much. They put out The Witch a few years ago. Good film, one of my favourite films from 2015, I think it was. But the hype on it just automatically creates a backlash.
Yeah.
Now, I get why they do it. I mean, they're a distributor, right? So their job is to make money from these films.
Get the people in watching it, yeah.
They don't care. All they want to do is sell a ticket or a DVD or a download or whatever. So if they can get a critic, or fuck it, not even a critic, if they can just put it on the poster, the scariest film since Exorcist, they will go after the horror audience and they'll get them in. The problem is how long are they going to be able to get away with this shit? They've done it for a lot of films.
Yeah,
now.
you're crying wolf a lot. You're making a claim. You're just letting people down. Don't go that big with it.
Then, when there is a backlash, which there is because of the hype they've created, they will turn around and kind of go, "Oh yeah, but you just didn't get it." And it's just like, guys, we've watched horror films since we've been kids. Okay, I like to think I'm a reasonably intelligent person. I mean, yes. Oh, one more little rant. Ari fucking Aster is going on about the fact that it's not really a horror film. Fuck you, Ari Aster.
It's what?
It's not really a horror film.
What is it then?
Oh,
A drama.
It's, I don't know, fucking post-horror elevated genre.
Stop overthinking it! Fucking hell!
Yeah. You know what? Fine. Fuck you. It doesn't deserve to be a horror film. Because you know what? I'm gonna flip it. It's not a horror
flip
film.
these two fucks.
All of that being said, it's a solid film. There was stuff about Hereditary I really enjoyed.
It looks very well shot. It looks very well made.
It's beautifully shot. Amazing cast. The performances, honestly, make it. You've got Toni Collette, who a lot of people have already kind of said, and I don't know whether this is A24 marketing machine or whatever. Oh, she deserves an Oscar. She's fucking great in it. She's great in it. I won't go too spoilery, but obviously a lot of it is about the fact that her mother passed away, seemed to have suffered with mental illness, and a lot of Toni Collette's thing is dealing with the grief of her mum having died, wondering what's going on with her daughter, and then also worrying about whether the mental illness was hereditary. So again, whether she's going to
a lot going on then.
Yeah. She does an amazing job. A much more subtle performance, which I actually feel is kind of the backbone of the film, is Gabriel Byrne. So Gabriel Byrne plays the dad in this, and he's a guy who's just given up. He knows he's not like the head of the household. He knows, like, basically, he's had kids with Toni Collette. Toni Collette, is this artist or whatever. She is the alpha presence in that house. He's just blowing along or whatever. He's trying to keep the peace. Lots of crazy shit's obviously going on in this family unit. and he's just trying to mellow out and just tick along. And it's an amazing performance because you can see there are times where he's kind of like, I should stand up, I should do something, I should say something, but I'm trying to be supportive for all of these different people pulling in different directions. First act, second act, brilliant. Third act is where it becomes a solid 7 out of 10 and not the greatest film since Exorcist. Reminds me a lot of other recent films, another one being Babadook, and especially in the first 2 acts. So for me, what was really strong about the Babadook and was really strong about Hereditary is the idea of like mental illness within a family unit. Babadook was the first half, and it's like, you know, this mum who's grieving with her young son. Is she going to be able to kind of cope? And as an audience member, you're actually worried that she's going to snap and kill this kid who's being bratty as fuck for his own understandable reasons. Similar kind of thing in Hereditary. And it walks the fine line between the supernatural and is it all just in Toni Collette's head? And you know, it sets both up as possible, you know, reasons, explanations. And for me, that's fucking terrifying because it's kids in peril from something that's usually supposed to protect them. Yeah. So Hereditary walks that line really well. The third act, and again, careful with what I'm saying because I don't want to spoil it for anybody. The third act, it just kind of goes, we don't really. I guarantee they probably have alternative endings because it just feels like we'll choose that ending. And they set some of the stuff up, but they really needed to spend more time on that ending because it felt unsatisfying. And I watched it in the cinema during the day. There weren't a huge amount of other people in the cinema with me, but a lot of people were not happy with the ending. It was just, it felt kind of like oh, that's your ending, bye-bye.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than that. Like I watched the 3 Billboards. Oh yeah. And very, very good film, really, really good, you know, performances and what have you. But the ending was just like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so deflated. I won't say what it is, but
what I did like is, and again, if you've seen the trailer, it's marketing as one kind of film. At the end of the first act, they go in a completely different direction that they've led you to believe the film's about. I won't say much more than that, but a main character is killed off, and you're kind of like, shit, I've got no idea where this film is going, which is great. And then the second act, there were bits where I could actually feel my knuckles all tensed up because I was just like, where is this going? You know, amazing. And again, I would say it's absolutely the performances that kind of take you along for that journey. It's just, I didn't like where the journey ended up. And I know as an audience member, you know, I don't have to like the ending, but it just didn't feel satisfying. I think they could have solved it if there was like another 10 minutes, 20 minutes at the end, maybe. But it was all kind of set up and no real payoff. Or say it came out and then somebody's discovering it in 20 years' time, it'd be like Exorcist 3. It'd be like one of those failed experiments that has amazing parts in it, doesn't quite work overall, but has some passionate fans.
Do you think with the overhyping of these films, do you think there's, obviously they do it to bring in an audience, right, which will work, but do you think they run the risk of having some really heavy criticism, which could then jeopardize future projects?
I mean, they seem to have critics on board because they keep on making all these noises about the fact it's not horror. So then critics have something to write about. You know, they can trot out the post-horror, elevated genre, psychological thriller shit again. Then it's almost like the Emperor's New Clothes is, oh, you know, you just don't get it. If you didn't like it, you don't get it. It's pretty critic-proof. And A24, they're smart guys, clearly, because they're picking up solid films, overhyping them, but because they're not, you know, gore fests or whatever, and they get the critics on board with it, you know, they're pretty bulletproof until people have actually seen it, and you actually read the reviews, and you're like, I'm sorry. You know,
plus, they don't want to go down the line of being overhyped, pretentious films, because they may have some people who go, oh, I get it, I'm a big fan of your films, but I think a lot of people are like,
I've got a feeling there's going to be a backlash. Yeah. I've got the feeling the audience is getting there where they're savvy to it now, and they're just like,
whatever, mate.
Yeah, whatever. Oh, really? Another film which is the scariest film since The Exorcist. What you want to do is, if you haven't seen it yet, is leave it 20 years and then rediscover it. So remember what I'm saying to you 20 years in the future is don't watch it for 20 years, rediscover it, and then be pleasantly surprised.
What we've been watching!
What have you been watching?
Not much, but what I have been watching is...
Not much you want to talk about here.
No, yeah, I have a lot of stuff I've been watching, which is, you know...
The Notebook.
What? So Netflix and Amazon Video have been my kind of go-to for my media consumption. One film I watched on Netflix was Cargo, starring Martin Freeman. He plays a guy, he's in the outback of Australia, with his wife and daughter. End of the world virus that's turning people into these weird zombies that bury their heads in the sand and have this weird, like, yellowy tree sap shit that goes over their eyes. It's quite unique take on, you know, your normal zombie kind of film. So very early on, he gets bitten, and he's slowly turning into one of these things. And his wife, unfortunately, dies. Some spoilers now. And he has to get his little baby girl, who spends most of the time on his back. He has to get her to safety. And it's a very cool, very well shot. It's focused on the father and the daughter. They don't really go into the kind of the broader picture of the end of the world, because it's not really relevant, is it? He's focused on himself as a dad, protecting his daughter. He knows he's got very limited time. So it's a really good performance by Martin Freeman, and it's a very different role for him than he usually does. And yeah, give that a go. All the Devils Are Here.
I've seen the poster for this. It's a good poster.
It's a really, they're definitely in 80s horror kind of territory with this, and I think they've actively, obviously, you know, from the poster and the music which they've used, they've kind of gone for that. Even the synopsis, you know, college kids being attacked by these cannibal fucking zombie things, or devils. Low budget, nicely shot, some interesting angles. Clearly the director has an eye, and he's not your bog standard close-up mids. There's more than one. No,
he has one eye or two eyes.
Oh, I don't know, I didn't look.
Okay.
I'm going to go for 2.
Okay.
I could be wrong.
The correct number.
Ryan Lightbourne is the director.
Hey Ryan, how many eyes you got?
I like the score. It's very kind of retro 80s wave synth. It was almost shot too clean though. It kind of almost didn't match the tone which they were trying to go for. So I would have liked to have seen a bit of grain, a bit of grit.
The first Evil Dead, that kind of visual,
No, don't go all Planet Terror on it. Just a bit. It looked a bit too clean, a little bit too modern, but it was nicely shot, and it was just good fun. Generally good fun. Yeah. Released in 2017. It's got 4 out of 5, or 5.7 out of 10. So yeah, check it out.
Good. How does that work? 4 out of 5.
I don't know.
All the Devils Are Here.
All the Devils Are Here. Check it out.
I will, Jim. I will.
There you go.
Because Jim has excellent taste, and I follow his recommendations.
Don't say excellent.
Jim's tastes are okay sometimes.
You can waver.
It's like 30% on point.
I blanked it out. Oh, The Greatest Showman. Terrible.
Oh god.
Guy's a fucking narcissist.
Yeah, I'm fairly sure Hugh Jackman agreed to do a film called The Greatest Showman just so he could have a poster with his face on it.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
And The Greatest Showman written.
He fucking defrauds the bank, puts his family through turmoil. It takes advantage of people who are clearly being mistreated and poked fun of because of their physical disabilities and whatever else. And then he exploits them for money, and all the while he's just singing around the fucking place, getting rich. It's disgusting. Fuck you, The Greatest Showman.
My kids love it. Peace out!